I saw the email at 2:47 a.m., sitting in my car outside the all-night diner on Oak Street, my hands shaking so bad I could barely hold the phone. The subject line read, "You won't believe what Svetka's doing now." It was from Jennifer, my ex-best friend from high school, the one I hadn't talked to in over a decade. My stomach dropped. I knew exactly what this was about, or at least, I thought I did. Svetka. Even the name made my jaw clench. That was the woman we'd spent 4 years tormenting in high school. Nerdy Svetka Volkov, with her thick Russian accent, her oversized glasses, and her permanent look of confusion when someone made a joke. We were merciless. Me, Jennifer, Ashley, and Karen, the 4 of us ran that school, and Svetka was our favorite target. Every lunch period, every hallway, every party we made sure didn't include her. We had a whole group chat dedicated to screenshots of her awkward Instagram posts. We'd laugh until our sides hurt. I hadn't thought about her in years. Truly hadn't. Life had moved on. I had a mortgage now, a husband named Michael, a decent job in marketing, a credit score I was actually proud of. We lived in a nice suburb outside Portland, nothing fancy, but comfortable. The kind of life where high school felt like it happened to someone else entirely. But then, the email. I opened the attachment Jennifer had sent. It was a link to an article from some major business publication. My thumb hovered over it for a solid 30 seconds before I tapped. The headline hit me like a physical blow. From startup nobody to industry titan, how Svetlana Volkov built a $340 million tech empire in 7 years. There was a photo. It was definitely her. Same dark eyes, same intensity, but everything else had changed. She was sitting in what looked like a penthouse office, wearing a designer blazer, her hair sleek and professional, a Rolex visible on her wrist. The article talked about her company, Nexus AI, and how she'd revolutionized something in machine learning that I didn't fully understand, but sounded important. I stared at that photo for what felt like hours, but was probably 2 minutes. My phone buzzed. A message from Jennifer in our old group chat, the one that had been dormant for years, but apparently Jennifer had just reactivated. OMG, just saw this. Remember her? We literally called her Svetka the Freak, lol. She's a billionaire now. A billionaire. This is insane. Ashley just texted me she saw Svetka's name on a building downtown. The building. Like naming rights. I'm dying. Karen had already reacted with laughing emojis. I didn't respond. I just kept reading about Svetka. The article mentioned her childhood, how her parents had immigrated from Moscow, how she'd been bullied throughout school, how that experience had motivated her to build something meaningful. It quoted her. I learned early that people fear what they don't understand. I decided to become someone they couldn't ignore. I felt something twist in my chest, something ugly. Michael was asleep when I got home around 4 a.m. I slipped into bed quietly, but I didn't sleep. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling of our bedroom, thinking about senior year, about the time we'd convinced Svetka that the whole school was having a formal dress code day, and she'd shown up in this ridiculous white gown that her mom had probably sewn for her, and we'd filmed her walking through the hallways while everyone pointed and laughed. Or the time Jennifer had made a fake Instagram account, pretending to be some popular guy, asking Svetka to prom, and we'd all watched as she actually started planning an outfit before we told her it was fake. We'd been so proud of ourselves, such clever, mean girls. I hadn't thought about any of that in years. I'd convinced myself it was just normal high school stuff. Harmless. Everyone did that, right? But lying there in the dark, with Michael snoring softly beside me, I realized I'd never actually apologized to Svetka. None of us had. The next morning, I did what I shouldn't have done. I looked up Svetka's social media. Her Instagram was private, but her LinkedIn was public. There were photos of her speaking at conferences, shaking hands with people I recognized from the news, standing in front of a glass building with the Nexus AI logo. She had 847,000 followers on Twitter. Her bio said, "Building the future, recovering from the past." That last part made me feel sick. I didn't tell Michael about any of this. Instead, I texted Jennifer. "We should reach out to her, catch up. It's been forever." Jennifer responded within seconds. LOL, why would we do that? She probably hates us. Besides, it would be awkward as hell. Maybe we were jerks to her, I typed. Oh my God, don't be so serious. We were just kids. She's obviously fine now. She's literally a billionaire. I'm sure she's over it. But I wasn't sure about that. Not at all. That night, I brought it up with Michael over dinner. He was grilling salmon in the backyard while I sat in one of our restoration hardware chairs, nursing a glass of Pinot Grigio. Do you remember anything about bullying in high school? I asked. He flipped the salmon. Not really. Why? I was just thinking about something. Someone. This girl from my class. What about her? We were not very nice to her, as a group. And now she's apparently really successful, and I just keep thinking about it. Michael turned to look at me. He was a good guy, patient, stable, the kind of husband who actually listened. That bothers you? Yeah, it does. He nodded and went back to the salmon. You should apologize then. It's been 12 years. She probably doesn't even remember. Or she remembers every single day, he said quietly. Either way, I don't think it matters. If it's bothering you, that's your gut telling you something. I didn't reach out that night, or the next day, but the thought of Svetka, of who she'd become, of how we'd treated her, started to occupy more and more of my mental real estate. A week later, Ashley texted the group chat. Hey, I'm organizing our high school reunion. It's coming up in 3 months, class of 2012. I'm going to send invites to everyone. You in? We all said yes immediately. It was automatic. Of course we'd go. We always went to these things. But then Ashley added, should I invite Svetka? I found her email through Nexus AI's website. Seems like she might actually show up now that she's famous, LOL. There was a pause in the group chat, a long one. Then Karen, oh God, can you imagine? Nerdy Svetka walking in like she owns the place. That would be hilarious. Definitely invite her. Jennifer, yes. I want to see her face when she realizes we all grew up to be normal people and she's still the weird one. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed, actually, she's not weird, and maybe we should be nice to her. The responses came quick. Ashley, whoa, who are you and what did you do with Rachel? Karen, oh come on, don't be a saint. It's funny. Jennifer, you're being so weird about this. I didn't respond again, but I knew something had shifted, something I couldn't take back. Ashley sent the reunion invite that Friday. Within an hour, Svetka had RSVP'd yes with a +1. And that's when everything started to unravel. I stared at my phone for 3 days straight after that RSVP. Svetka was coming, with a +1, to our reunion, in 12 weeks. Michael noticed something was wrong. He always does. We were at his company's summer picnic, one of those corporate things where the VP grills overcooked hot dogs and everyone pretends to have fun. When he pulled me aside near the coolers. Talk to me, he said quietly. I couldn't. Not there. Not with Janet from accounting hovering nearby. So I just shook my head and squeezed his hand. He didn't push. That's one of the things I loved about Michael. He knew when to let me sit with something. But that night, after we got home and he was in bed scrolling through his phone, I sat on the edge of the mattress and told him everything. About Svetka, about the group chat, about the email, about the fact that we'd invited her to a reunion where we all planned to watch her walk in, still the weird girl, except now she was worth more money than all of us combined would ever see. Michael put his phone down. Jesus, Rachel. I know. No, I don't think you do. He sat up. You're actually planning to humiliate her again. You're going to go to this reunion and, what? Laugh? Make jokes? Pretend to be nice to her face? No, that's exactly what you're planning. You sent the invite knowing she'd come, and you wanted to see her reaction. That's cruel. I felt my face get hot. You don't understand. You weren't there. It wasn't like we were... I don't care. His voice was quiet but firm. I don't care what you did in high school, but I care what you're doing now. And right now, you're the person who's choosing to be part of this." He turned away from me and went back to scrolling. I sat there for another 10 minutes before I got up and went to sleep in the guest room. The next morning, he acted like nothing had happened, but something had shifted. There was a coldness between us that felt new. Not quite anger, but disappointment. Worse, somehow. Over the next week, I tried to focus on work. I had a campaign due, something for a local real estate company, all about the dreams of home ownership. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was trying to sell people on the idea that a house was their sanctuary, their refuge, their place of safety. Meanwhile, my own house felt like a minefield. Jennifer texted me, "We should do a pre-party before the reunion. My place, like a week before? Get ready together like old times?" I didn't respond immediately. Ashley jumped in. "Yes, I'm so here for it. Karen too, let's do this." Then Karen added a gif of women doing shots with the caption, "Nerdy Svetka incoming." I should have said something, should have told them to stop, but I didn't. I just didn't respond, which was basically the same as agreement by omission. That Friday, I made a decision. I was going to look Svetka up online. Not just the article, actually look her up. Find something real. I spent 2 hours going through every public post she'd ever made. Her LinkedIn was meticulous. MIT undergrad, Stanford, PhD in computer science, founded Nexus AI 7 years ago with a team of 3 engineers. The company had raised $47 million in Series B funding last year. She'd been named to Forbes's 30 under 40 list 3 years ago. But it was Twitter where I found something that stopped my breath. A thread from 18 months back. Svetka had posted about her high school experience. I almost scrolled past it, but then I saw my name. I was bullied relentlessly in high school by 4 girls who made it their personal mission to make me feel subhuman. Rachel, Jennifer, Ashley, Karen. I still remember your names. I remember every joke, every humiliation, every time you made me feel like I didn't deserve to exist. For years, I thought about revenge. I fantasized about becoming successful, just so I could throw it in your faces. But you know what? I realized recently that's a waste of my mental energy. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just sad that you spent your teenage years being cruel when you could have been kind. I hope you've grown, truly. Not for me, for yourselves. The post had 847 retweets and 3,400 likes. I had to physically put my phone down. My hands were shaking so hard I couldn't see the screen anyway. She'd named us, all of us, publicly. 50,000 people had seen it. I immediately checked if any of the girls had mentioned it in the group chat. They hadn't, which meant they didn't know yet, or they were too embarrassed to bring it up. I did what I probably shouldn't have done. I called Jennifer. "Did you see Svetka's Twitter?" I asked without preamble. Silence on the other end. "Yeah," Jennifer said quietly. "I saw it. Ashley sent it to me like an hour ago. It's a lot." She named us, Jennifer, by name. 50,000 people. I know where we are, Rachel. I know how many people saw it. Are you worried? About, I don't know, people finding us? Calling us out? Another silence. Then, are you asking if I'm worried about consequences? I'm asking if you're worried about the reunion, if she's going to show up and what? And expose us? We're already exposed. She did it months ago and nobody cared because we're nobodies and she's someone. Our high school friends who haven't talked to her don't follow her on Twitter. They don't know. And you know what? When they find out we bullied the now billionaire tech CEO, they're not going to care that much either, because that's just what happened.
That's ancient history.
But it wasn't ancient history, and I think we both knew it. I'm going to reach out to her, I said. What? I'm going to reach out to her, apologize, before the reunion, before... Rachel, no, that's the worst thing you could do. You'll just remind her that she hasn't forgotten. You'll make it worse. How could it possibly be worse? Because, Jennifer said, and I could hear the exhaustion in her voice, she's waiting. She invited you to the reunion knowing you'd be there. She accepted the invitation knowing she'd see you. She's had 12 years to think about this. And now she's successful and powerful and you're You're going to call her and say sorry. She doesn't want an apology, Rachel. She wants to see you suffer." I hung up on her. That night, I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop open, staring at Svetka's LinkedIn profile. Her email was listed, s.volkov@nexusai.com. I started typing an email 4 times, deleted it 4 times. The 5th time, I actually sent something. "Svetka, I don't expect you to respond to this, and you'd have every right not to. But I saw your Twitter thread, and I wanted to reach out. I was one of the girls who made your high school experience miserable, and I've spent the last few days thinking about what that must have been like for you. I'm genuinely sorry. Not because you're successful now, but because I was cruel, and you didn't deserve that. If there's any way I can—" I hit send before I could overthink it. Then I waited. 12 minutes later, my phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello? Rachel?" A voice with just the faintest hint of a Russian accent. Older than I remembered, more polished, but unmistakably hers. My stomach dropped into my shoes. "Svetka?" "Yes, I got your email. I'm calling instead of responding because I think you should hear this directly." She paused. "The reunion? I'm not coming." Relief flooded through me so fast I felt dizzy. "Oh, but my lawyer will be," she continued. "I've been documenting your group's harassment for the past 3 days. Every post, every message. My legal team is building a case for defamation and emotional distress. You're going to receive a letter by Monday, and then you're going to make a choice. Settle quietly and sign an NDA or go to court." The kitchen tilted. "I don't understand. I sent you an apology. That apology is being screenshotted and will be entered as evidence that you admitted to knowingly participating in a coordinated campaign of harassment, which makes you liable." Her voice was completely calm. "I'm not angry, Rachel. I meant what I said in that tweet, but I'm also not going to let this go. Not anymore." The line went dead. I don't remember sitting down, but I was on the kitchen floor. Michael found me there 20 minutes later, still holding the phone, not crying yet, but close. So close. "What happened?" he asked, kneeling down. I told him, all of it. He listened without interrupting, and when I finished, he just pulled me into his chest and held me while I finally broke apart. "We're going to get a lawyer," he said into my hair. "Tomorrow morning, first thing, okay?" But I knew that wasn't going to fix this. Money could fix the legal problem, maybe, but Svetka wasn't suing me because she wanted money. She was suing me because I'd finally given her a reason to. And I deserved it. The lawyer's office was all polished wood and glass, the kind of place where people's lives got divided into columns and columns. Michael sat beside me, his jaw tight, while Richard Chen, our attorney, spread documents across the mahogany table like he was laying out a crime scene. "It's aggressive," Richard said, adjusting his glasses, "but it's not airtight. She's claiming defamation, emotional distress, and what she's calling coordinated harassment campaign. The Twitter thread helps her case. She's documented your names publicly, which shows she's serious. But here's the problem. You're the only one who's apologized." "Is that bad?" Michael asked. "It's complicated. It shows remorse, which is good. But Svetka's lawyer will argue it's an admission of guilt, and they'll use it as leverage. They want settlement, not blood. $750,000, confidentiality agreement, and a public apology statement that she'll have to approve." The number hit me like a punch. 750,000. Our house was worth 800,000. Our savings were maybe 200,000. We'd have to take out a loan, refinance, drain everything. "That's insane," Michael said. "She's not actually hurt. She's a billionaire." "Doesn't matter," Richard said quietly. "This isn't about money for her. It's about principle. And legally, emotional distress damages don't scale to the defendant's wealth. They scale to the harm caused. She's got a paper trail now. She kept everything. Every group chat, every Instagram post from back then that she managed to find. Screenshots of the fake prom thing. Her lawyers are thorough." "What if we fight it?" I asked. Richard leaned back in his chair. "Then it goes to court. Takes 18 months minimum. Costs 50 to 100,000 in legal fees alone. And you lose. Because juries don't like bullies, Rachel. They really don't. And you were bullies. Multiple girls, sustained harassment, documented humiliation. A jury sees that. They award damages plus punitive damages. You could end up paying twice what she's asking for now. Michael reached over and squeezed my hand so hard it hurt. "We'll settle," I said. That was Tuesday. By Friday, I'd hired a financial advisor to figure out how to move money around without declaring bankruptcy. Michael and I stopped talking about anything except logistics. How much could we borrow against the house? Could we sell some investments without incurring massive tax penalties? Should we tell his parents or keep this quiet? I didn't go to work. I told my boss I was taking personal time, and I spent 3 days sitting in our kitchen staring at nothing while Michael went to the office and pretended everything was normal. On Saturday morning, Jennifer called. I almost didn't pick up. "Did you settle?" she asked, without preamble. "How did you know she sued?" Her lawyer sent us letters too, all 4 of us. Karen's freaking out. Ashley's already talked to her lawyer. They're going to fight it. They're saying the statute of limitations should apply, that it was too long ago. Jennifer paused. "Did you tell her to do this? Did you warn her we were planning something?" "No, I sent an apology. She called me back and told me she was suing." "Jesus, Rachel, you just confessed. You literally handed her the case." "I'm settling," I said. $750,000. The silence on the other end was complete. "That's," Jennifer started. "That's not even. Why would you do that?" "Because she was right. We were cruel. We documented it. We were planning to watch her walk into that reunion and feel superior, and she's not going to let that go. And honestly, I don't blame her." "So what? You're just going to pay her off and pretend you're a good person now?" "No," I said. "I'm going to pay her off and live with what I did. That's different." Jennifer hung up on me. That afternoon, I got an email from Svetka's lawyer with the settlement agreement attached. The public apology statement was 3 paragraphs. I had to acknowledge that I'd participated in bullying, that I'd known it was wrong, that I'd benefited from group dynamics that made cruelty feel acceptable, that I understood the lasting impact of that behavior. And then there was a clause that made my stomach drop. The apology had to be posted on my personal social media accounts: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, public, visible to everyone I'd ever known. I read it to Michael that night. "She wants you humiliated," he said, "the way she was humiliated." "Yeah. Are you going to do it?" I thought about high school, about Svetka's face when we told her the prom thing was a joke, about the email she sent years later, the one that had started all this, about the Twitter thread that named us all. "Yeah," I said, "I'm going to do it." The next morning, I drafted the statement. I rewrote it 7 times. Each version felt too defensive, too qualified, too much like I was trying to protect myself. On the 8th try, I just wrote the truth. 12 years ago, I bullied Svetka Volkov along with 3 other girls. We made jokes at her expense. We humiliated her publicly and privately. We knew it was wrong, and we did it anyway. I've spent the last week understanding that cruelty is a choice, and I chose to be cruel. Svetka didn't deserve that. She deserves better. I'm sorry. I'm settling the lawsuit that resulted from my actions, and I'm making this apology public because I don't deserve privacy for something I did in public. Michael read it over my shoulder. "That's good," he said. "That's honest." I posted it on Twitter, then Instagram, then Facebook. Then I turned off my phone. The response came immediately. Messages from people I hadn't talked to in years. Some were angry, people defending me, saying I was being too hard on myself, that high school bullying was normal. Some were supportive, people I'd hurt who'd read the apology and felt something shift. And some were just confused. Who was Svetka? Why did they care? Why was Rachel Crawford, their boring high school acquaintance, suddenly making a public statement about something from 2012? But the one message that mattered came through my lawyer on Monday morning. An email from Svetka. "I saw your apology. I believe you meant it. That changes nothing about the settlement. You still owe it, and the NDA is still in effect. But I want you to know, I didn't do this to destroy you. I did it to make sure you understood what you did, to make sure you couldn't pretend it didn't matter. I think you understand now. That was the goal. The settlement is just the price of that understanding." I read it 3 times. Then I called Richard and asked him to draft the transfer. He told me it would take a week. The money would come out of our savings, out of a new loan, out of every ounce of financial stability Michael and I had built. The reunion was scheduled for October. I didn't go. Ashley didn't go either. Her lawyer advised against it. Karen went and told everyone I'd had a nervous breakdown. Jennifer went and defended me half-heartedly, then stopped talking to the group entirely. Svetka didn't go, but everyone knew why. The 4 girls who'd bullied Svetka Volkov were now connected to her in the public record, linked by a lawsuit that was already becoming small-town legend. 6 months later, I got a message from Michael's mother. She'd seen the apology statement. She wanted to know if it was real, if I'd really been that cruel as a teenager. I told her yes. I didn't minimize it. I didn't explain it away as youthful stupidity. I just said I was cruel, and I'm spending my life trying to not be that person anymore. She didn't respond to that message, but she started being warmer to me after that, less suspicious, like she'd been waiting for me to prove I was actually a decent person, and the humiliation had been the proof she needed. Michael and I renegotiated our finances. We're paying off the settlement over 3 years. It means no vacation this summer, no renovations to the kitchen we've been planning. It means I'm more careful about every dollar. It means I think about Svetka every time I check the balance of our account. But the thing is, I deserve that. I deserve to think about her every single day, not out of anger, but out of responsibility. I hurt someone, and the world, for once, made sure I understood the cost. Last week, I saw Svetka's company announced a $50 million investment in AI safety research. The press release mentioned that Nexus AI was partnering with 5 universities to study how algorithms can perpetuate bias and harm. It made me wonder if she thought about that group chat sometimes, if she thought about the screenshots we took of her awkward posts and laughed about them together, if she'd built something bigger partly to make sure people like us could never do that to anyone else again. I'll never know. The NDA prevents me from contacting her, and that's fair. But every morning when I wake up, I'm grateful that at least she made sure I would never forget.